My name is Esther Wachukwu, and these are the top stories. Court of Appeal transfers all 2023 election petition cases from the 36 states to Abuja and Lagos. Appeal Court sacks Adamawa lawmaker Senator Ijeoma Egwuatu. Tinubu's government proposes 26 trillion naira 2024 budget. President Tinubu swears in 3 new ministers. And Nigeria's headline inflation rises to 26.72% in September. Details now. Welcome back. The President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Monica Dongban-Mensem, has ordered that all pending petitions from the 36 states of the Federation regarding the outcome of the 2023 elections be transferred to the Lagos and Abuja divisions of the Appellate Court. VOP News understands that based on the directive, all such pending cases resulting from the verdict of the various state petition election petitions tribunal would now be heard and decided by judges in Lagos and Abuja divisions only. The order affects gubernatorial, national and state assemblies elections. The directive by Dongban-Mensem for only 2 of the 20 divisions of the court determines all appellate cases arising from tribunal disputes is said to have been informed by the plethora of petitions and protests by political parties and their candidates, who allege that the judges of the tribunals were heavily compromised by the governors during the trial stage in their respective states. The Court of Appeal president was said to have carried out discreet investigations into the allegations against the governors and the judges of the trial tribunal and established the existence of some holy alliances which might have led to a miscarriage of justice at the tribunal. Some judges of the tribunals were reportedly indicted and might face trial by the National Judicial Council. Speaking on the development, a member of the House of Representatives representing Wari Federal Constituency, Honorable Thomas Eritomi, was quoted via a Monitor television program to have welcomed the decision as long as it would guarantee fair and impartial judgments. He, however, noted that the financial implications that may result in the transfer of the cases will be humongous. Now, the Court of Appeal in Abuja has sacked the lawmaker representing Adamawa North Senatorial District in the National Assembly, Ijeoma Egwuatu. VOP News gathered that Senator Egwuatu, a member of the All Progressives Congress, was sacked earlier on today. This was confirmed by the lawmaker. The court voided his election in favor of the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Amos Yohana. Now, the Bola Tinubu-led federal government has proposed 26 trillion naira as the 2024 budget to be submitted to the National Assembly before December 31, 2023. The Minister of Planning and Budget, Atiku Bagudu, made the budget proposal known at the end of the Federal Executive Council meeting today at the Council Chambers at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. President Bola Tinubu presided over the FEC meeting, which is the second of its kind held since the inauguration of the cabinet. In another development, President Bola Tinubu has sworn in and inaugurated 3 new ministers into the Federal Executive Council. VOP News gathered that the ministers who took their oath of office are Balarabe Lawal, representing Kaduna State, Ayodele Olawande, Ondo State, and Jamila B.O. Ibrahim, Kwara State. The ministers were sworn in by President Bola Tinubu at the Federal Executive Council meeting currently holding inside the State House. Present at the Federal Executive Council meeting are the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Yemi Eson, the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, ministers, and some other executive principal officers. Meanwhile, Nigeria's headline inflation soared by 0.90% to 26.72% in September from 25.80% in August 2023. The National Bureau of Statistics disclosed this in its September Consumer Price Index report today. On a year-on-year basis, the headline inflation rate was 5.94 percentage points higher compared to the rate recorded in September 2022, which was 20.77%. This shows that the headline inflation rate year-on-year basis increased in September 2023 compared to the same month in the preceding year, September 2022. Now, on the main conversation this evening is concerning Tinubu's government after Dele Farotimi says he won't be silent if anything happens to me, and that you know whom to look up to. And obviously, whom we have right here in the studio is Mr. Peter Anosike, who is an author, of course, a political enthusiast, a social affairs commentator, and also an economic strategist. Mr. Peter Anosike, good evening and welcome to the OP World News at 6.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your time and you having to take your... I know I called you last minute to explain some of the issues that I want to talk about. Now, we do know that all the while that we've been having issues with the government, and in every way that you can consider, quite a lot of things have actually been taking place. And for Dele Farotimi has actually been very, a political activist. He's also a commentator when it comes to political affairs. He is saying that if at all things do not go the way he expects it to go, that let Nigerians not be surprised as to what may eventually be the turnout of the day. And this was a declaration he made very recent. In fact, he said after this particular administration, he says he will not be silent, and that if anything happens to him, everyone knows whom to run to, which is the president. So the question is, should anyone be afraid to express or give their expressions as to whatever is transpiring in the Nigerian polity? That's number one. Number two, considering the entire, not just the certificate saga of the president, but the president having to rebrand or renew himself in the eyes of Nigerians now that they consider him to not be transparent in terms of his personality and his activities, even the appointments he's been making. Is it a wild thought for a couple of political enthusiasts like yourself to give their own perceptions about some of these national issues in comparison to a lot of things that are currently happening? For example, you do know that the SUVs or the vehicles that have been appropriated to the senators has already begun as of today, and it has elicited quite a number of reactions. So would anyone's life be on the line if they express what they originally think about this current administration? Should anyone be afraid to express themselves if you're not satisfied with how things are currently ongoing?
Well, this what happens in a third world country. This is what happened in countries that are not democratic.
All right.
This is what happened in countries that are not civilized.
Okay.
People are free to express themselves in the civilized nations. Say your mind, put government on the toes. You don't condone evil if you are a good person.
Okay.
Because somebody said that it is not the evil ones that will destroy the world, but the good ones who see evil and keep quiet.
All right.
So, but here in Nigeria, people who express their minds are becoming endangered. They are being targeted by those working for the state, and it's very, very unfortunate.
You will recall that in July 26th, the 26th day in the month of July, Dele Farotimi says that the president does not possess the will to appoint ministers that can fix Nigeria. And we have seen the president appoint ministers of late. In fact, you recall the recent FEMA minister that was appointed, a very young man. I remember having this conversation with you and you said that experience is what matters. But a couple of his supporters of this administration have said Nigerians have always clamored for youthful inclusivity when it comes to governance. Now he is already having to, put that in place, create that picture in place, and then Nigerians are complaining that this young person that he has put in charge does not have the capacity and the experience background to help back up him having to be in charge of that particular sector. What's your take on that?
Tinubu was not considering the interest of the country before making that appointment.
Really?
He just wants to do somebody, an individual, a favor.
Okay.
To the detriment of our country. That guy is just 24 years old. He finished his NYSC in 2022. Understand me?
Mm-hmm.
last year. And FEMA is a critical institution. It is not where you go to learn on the job. It requires experience. And experience favoritism cannot take over experience.
All right.
So he wasn't thinking about our national interest. He just wanted to do somebody a favor because the boy, his father, is a popular northern politician.
Wow. So it's all about possibly what some individuals promised.
He's doing somebody a favor. He's just doing that boy's favor, that boy's father a favor.
Are you saying this favor is done because these were individuals that possibly delivered their various constituencies to him during the elections, and this is a way of paying back whatever it is they've done for him during the elections?
I don't know whether it is now or before, because Tinubu has been around for a long time. So I don't know what the man must have done for him.
Okay.
But that appointment was based on favoritism, not on the national interest.
All right. So for Dele Farotimi, he said that the ruling class do not have their houses in Nigeria. He said they hop on the plane and fly abroad to see their doctors when they have a common cold, and their children do not even go to school in Nigeria. So he said, what is it about the APC and the Nigerian political rulers as a collective that would inspire anybody into believing that the worst that could come from the Nigerian president is to appoint those who will leave the people he has helped to enslave out of their enslavement? What can you say about that phrase?
Well, for me, I see from his own point of view. I remember discussing with one Nigerian minister of works.
All right.
I don't want to mention his name, but he told me that government is not a Father Christmas. That anywhere that I see a road being built, that it is being built because of one individual. Understand? Because of the favor that they want to get from that individual, not because of the people that live on that road. So this is how Nigerian government think. This is how Nigerian politicians think.
Okay.
Understand? That government is not a Father Christmas. They don't dupe the people. If you see where a road is being constructed just because of an individual, the favor that they want to get from that individual.
All right. Now, you would recall that this same individual was a guest on a monitored television program recently. And in that monitored television program, he expressed his views about this administration, also about the controversial CSU certificate of the president. He was vehement in some of the utterances he made, which actually made the Nigerian Broadcast Commission write to that particular media organization concerning the kind of persons they bring in to analyze issues of the Nigerian polity. And he has always remained vocal in whatever he says concerning this particular administration, even though we all know where his political leanings are. Would it be that possibly because of how vocal he is, that there will be a threat to his life? And why would anyone threaten anybody who gives their own opinions or perceptions to what is currently ongoing in the Nigerian polity? Let me draw your mind back to the situations as of yesterday, 2 days ago. We saw the back and forth between the presidential candidate of the PDP and also President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, where he has specifically on the past 4 or 5 days written to the Supreme Court, insisting that the fresh motion for a new evidence to be tendered should not be admitted, especially that of the People's Democratic Party, specifically that of the deposition of Caleb Westberg. He said because the deposition that was heard, the Nigerian lawyers weren't there when those depositions were heard, and that it shouldn't make any impact when it comes to our own Nigerian judicial system. Secondly, he also averted the fact that appeal of the Labour Party itself, basically he called it a waste of time, and he literally said that it had no position in terms of its claims because it was relegated at the Presidential Election Petition Court. So with all of these interests in his personality, with all of this interest by opposition political parties and other Nigerian elites that have given their voice to what they think about this current debacle, why would a particular individual who seems to also have been vocal about government policies, about this particular administration, about the person of the president, why should that person come out and be afraid that there may be something or someone that may want to silence him?
He's a human being. He is a human being, and I'm sure by now he has been receiving threats from people.
Okay.
He has been receiving threats from people. That threats comes to those in the media. It's not new, but it shouldn't deter you from speaking truth to power. It shouldn't deter him from speaking truth to power. So he's doing what he is supposed to do. And he has said, if anything happens to me, hold so and so people responsible.
He literally says, you know whom to hold responsible.
So it's good that he speak out. Understand? But the truth is this: somebody I've learned a lot over the years.
Okay.
I remember when Idi Amin was in the hospital on his dying bed in the hospital in Saudi Arabia. Idi Amin of Uganda. Then that was his 80th birthday. A British journalist came to him and showed him a video of the rise and fall of Idi Amin. He watched that video. After some, he couldn't believe that such a thing was happening in Uganda.
Okay.
Because his aides were going about massacring people in the name of Idi Amin.
Okay.
So this thing happens, understand? And I'm sure that some of the bombs that were thrown under Abacha, that people must have felt was done by Abacha. Abacha was not aware of it. It happens everywhere. People take laws into their hand that they are doing it on behalf of their masters.
Okay.
So it could be this segment of the society that might be threatening Farotimi.
All right. Now, he has been asked questions on several occasions if he would go on exile. If at all he sees that his life is at stake, basically because of how he vituperates when it comes to political issues. And he has remained adamant that for no reason would he have to do that, so long as we still operate a democratic dispensation and until we have proper leadership that governs how we do things. Now, which brings me back to a question I want to ask you. So apparently, in an apparent bid to curtail political interference in the dispensation of justice, right, the president of the Court of Appeal, that is Justice Monica Dongban-Mensam, she has transferred all election petition cases pending before the court in the 36 states to Abuja and Lagos divisions of the Appellate Court. Also, apparently, it means that cases arising from the judgment of the various election petition tribunals in the 36 states of the country would be heard and determined in Abuja and Lagos divisions of the Appeal Court. Now, by this action, Dongban-Mensam said only 2 of the 20 divisions of the court would determine all appellate cases arising from the judgments of the elections petition tribunals throughout the country, and the order affects gubernatorial, national, and state assembly elections, which have the Court of Appeal as a last court of adjudication. So the question is, if you understand what this news entails, is that all the cases that has been pending, all the judicial cases or post-election cases that has been pending in all the courts across the federation will now be brought down to Lagos and Abuja, because according to them, the gubernatorial candidates are complaining that the judges at the various states are being induced either financially or otherwise by the ruling party. And according to them, to curtail the effect or to curtail that, would I say, menace of inducement from the executive, it will all boil down to Lagos and Abuja. How will this change anything? What makes the judicial process in these 2 states, in Abuja and the FCT, different from all the proceedings that have been taking place in other states? And how do we know that it would make any change whatsoever in any executive interference with the judicial making process of the judges?
Well, personally speaking, they had given advantage to those governors who the petitioners felt induced the court of first instance.
Okay.
Because it will be very much financial burden on those parties, on those petitioners, that transporting themselves, their legal team, and their witnesses to Abuja. An instance, somebody coming from Akwa Ibom, Cross River, to Lagos or to Abuja. It means one, maybe getting accommodation here or coming here every week or 2 times a week. And mind you, the judges in Abuja and in Lagos,
Lagos.
Here are still typical Nigerians. They're not coming from the moon. They're not coming from the Mars. They are as corrupt as the other judges everywhere. And a governor can induce whoever he wants to induce, whether it is in his state or outside his state.
All right.
So for me, he has transferred advantage to the incumbents. What I mean by the incumbents are the sitting governors or those in the House of Assembly or the National Assembly or in the Senate. Because while the petitioners will be using their own money, the other people who are already in government will be using government money.
All right, so let me run you through this. One of the impeccable sources in the Court of Appeal headquarters in Abuja revealed that all appellate cases arising from the judgments of the Election Petitions Tribunal in the 1,209 cases filed against the conduct of the 2023 general elections have been assigned to Abuja and Lagos for hearing and determination, and that all political parties and their candidates who have pending appeal cases have been directed to comply with the order by moving to either Lagos or Abuja, as the case may be, to prosecute their cases. So we're going to see a lot of junketing from one particular state to the other.
Where are the resources? Where would the resources come from? Understand? So they have injured those petitioners financially. They have injured them financially. Understand? This will even affect their cases. And instance, if you have 36 witnesses, how can you move them from Akwa Ibom to Abuja? Where are they going to stay in Abuja? You have to cater for all these things. Cater for your witnesses to your legal team and yourself.
But now that it's post-election, I feel that most of the cases that will be appealed at this stage, they may not have to bring in more evidence or bring in fresh witnesses. I think that has already been done at the election tribunal that was set up in each of the states to look at the gubernatorial elections that were conducted in those states. So now there should be really no need for fresh evidence to be tendered. I think that's why all the cases
no fresh evidence?
Well, unless in very extreme and dire circumstances, which in most instances in this part of the world it doesn't happen, when a case has to be taken to the apex court. So which brings me back to the question of Dele Farotimi giving his own expressions concerning the state of the Nigerian polity and how he thinks that there may be some possible moves to silence him. And the question will be, knowing or considering the fact that some political opponents of this current administration may not really have the kind of security that they desire to protect themselves. So should it be that Nigerians should not be able to express themselves on what they think could be the challenging issues bedeviling the nation? You do know that inflation, the headline inflation, has risen to 26.72% as of September. And it tells you that when it comes to food, things have become extremely expensive. There is no food security, no employment opportunities. Most entrepreneurs have dropped their jobs or dropped the openings whereby they get to give job opportunities to other persons because they cannot continue to run on the current capital they are running, and the profit is not coming in as it should be. So the question will be, should it stop anyone from continuing to express themselves as to what they think about this particular administration and the principles, or would I say body language, of the president to a lot of economic issues or challenges?
Well, one thing that made Nelson Mandela extraordinary is because he said no for 27 years. When they arrested him, after 3 years, they asked him, if we leave you, will you go on exile? He said, no, I cannot abandon my people. So Nelson Mandela continued saying no for 27 years. Upon all the punishment, all the, understand? So then, Martin Luther King, upon all the threats, he never left the United States. because you can never solve a problem that you are not part of. Change can never come from outside. So whoever wants to make a change has to be in that system and make that change. So if Farotimi leaves this country, then that's why most politicians don't accept ambassadorial job. They feel that making them ambassadors is taking them out of the system. They want to be in the system. So God will protect him, because it is only God that can protect the people in the opposition in the country.
Right.
Security in the country is only for the less than 5%.
Okay.
We don't have any kind of even food security. We don't even have in the country. So, but we pray that God will continue to protect him.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Peter Anosike, for your time and sharing your intellectual input on the World News at 6. I sincerely do appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Now to stories outside the shores of Nigeria. Hamas's military wing says it has fired a barrage of rockets at Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, with sirens sending lawmakers to bomb shelters. UN Aid Chief Martin Griffith says Gaza's health system and hospital are collapsing before their eyes without water, fuel, and medical supplies. He says the UN is in deep discussions to secure the passage of much-needed aid into the territory which Israel has blockaded. But the crucial Rafah crossing from Egypt into Gaza has been hit by an airstrike. The extent of the damage is unclear. Israel's military has updated the number of people it believes are being held hostage in Gaza, up from 155 to 199. They were kidnapped when Hamas gunmen infiltrated Israel just over a week ago, killing more than 1,400 people. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak tells the House of Commons that at least 6 British people were among those killed and 10 remain missing. More than 2,700 people in Gaza have been killed in retaliatory strikes by Israel, which is also blocking fuel, water, food, and medical supplies from entering the territory. And now to wrap up the world news at 6, here again are the top stories. You heard that the Court of Appeal president has transferred all 2023 election petition cases from the 36 states to Abuja and Lagos. Appeal Court sacks Adamawa lawmaker Senator Ishaku Abo. Tinubu's government proposes 26 trillion naira as 2024 budget. President Tinubu swears in 3 new ministers, and Nigeria's headline inflation rises to 26.72% in September. That's a wrap on the world news at 6 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Mwachuku. Good evening and thank you for staying with us. Up next is the Evening Rush with Precious.